Hey, legends. Welcome back to another episode of Entrepreneur 101 from concept to exit and everything in between. Listen, we've got a great guest on the show today, Laurent Notin, joining us all the way from Helsinki, Finland. Never been, hey, but you know what? I know there's 7 hours difference, so it's good afternoon for Laurent right now. But listen, let me tell you a little bit about Laurent. He is an entrepreneur coach. He's got a professional background in market research and advertising. And with his company, they offer training courses for entrepreneurs and leadership teams who are kind of stuck. You can see his tagline there, stop being the bottleneck in your business, which we're definitely going to get to. He is also the host of his own podcast, Cracking the Entrepreneurship Code. And if he knows what that code is, he can make millions of dollars off it because everybody's looking for that code. So we may dig into a little bit about that, see if he's willing to share it up. But listen, with that being said, Laurent, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you, Reggie. Thank you for having me.
Oh, hey, we appreciate it. So listen, how are things in Finland this afternoon?
Well, getting warmer.
Oh, yeah?
Finally. Yeah, it's 4 degrees Celsius. It's mostly sunny. I just had a walk actually before this
Okay.
podcast.
Yeah, that's great. It's about 9 degrees Celsius here, so really not a lot of difference. Sun shining,
Yep.
so that's great. So listen, we're gonna get before we get into what you do business wise. I always think it's important for people to understand the person behind the business because I like to show my listeners that listen, normal everyday people who maybe didn't come from money, who maybe didn't, get a business passed down to them or whatever, can become an entrepreneur and can make it. It's not easy. It's not always glamorous like we see on the internet, but it can be done. So, so I want to find out, a little bit of your background pre-entrepreneur as to kind of how you grew up. I know you're a French national, grew up outside of Marseille, but then you traveled a little bit. So tell me a little bit about your background before we get into the business.
Sure. So like you said, I come from France, from a city called Cavaillon, which is 70 kilometers north of Marseille. I did all my studies up all the way to what we call the baccalaureate, which is at the end of high school
Right.
in my city. Then I moved to Marseille for 1 year to prepare for business school. Then I went to a business school in a city called Poitiers, which is west of France, like northwest of France.
Okay.
And did 3 years there. After that, I did my military service because it was still mandatory for me. I was the last year in
Oh, wow.
France of
Okay.
mandatory service, military service. And while I was doing my military service, my ex-partner, we were both living in Paris, and she was doing her own studies, and then she found a job announcement published by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to go and teach. Well, I think it was for teacher or something like that, but teach French to foreigners
Okay.
in 80 countries around the world.
R-
And she was doing her studies around that. And so she filled in a form. She applied for 3 countries, and the first country she applied for was Laos in Southeast Asia,
Right.
because her thought was like, well, nobody knows Laos. So
Right.
if I got a chance to be taken, I'm going to put a country that nobody knows about, so nobody will apply for it,
Right.
and I increase my chance to get it. And she was
Absolutely.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. Smart thinking
So
for sure.
yeah. And so she was selected, and I had nothing. She was selected. I just had finished, but by then, I just had finished my military service. I was looking for a job in France, but I was failing miserably. I was like lacking self-confidence. I sucked
Right.
a lot. And I think I was not very well in my mind,
Okay.
not in the right place.
Yeah.
And I think somehow, I jumped on that opportunity to flee.
Yeah.
And so we initially left France and went to Laos for 9 months, because our initial contract was for 9 months. And then 9 months turned into 6.5 years. Then we moved to Cambodia, then Vietnam, back to Cambodia. And we stayed in Southeast Asia for 20 years.
Wow.
And then I moved to Finland with we separated in between, but I moved to Finland in July 2019. So I've been living outside France for the past nearly 24 years now.
Right. Yeah. Wow.
And
That's
I don't miss it.
You don't miss it? No.
No, I don't miss France. I don't know.
Well, and I mean, between the three, between France and Southeast Asia and Finland, there's got to be a lot of culture shock. Like you must have had to reassimilate to totally different cultures. How was that? And especially when you have that entrepreneur mindset. Let's face it, the basics of entrepreneurialism is the same, but there's obviously different nuances in different countries and different cultures. So how did you adapt to that?
It was easy because I don't know, I just loved it immediately. So I really remember we landed in Laos on the 3rd of October 1999.
Okay.
And when the plane door opened and we were staying on the runway, I was hit by the heat.
Yeah, yeah.
In my face, I was like, whoa. And I could see the mosquitoes flying around me. And I was like, wow, that's different. And then, by then, at that time in 1999, Laos was still, an emerging country. It still is today, but it was really the capital, Vientiane, didn't have like asphalted roads or very
Okay.
little, as far as I
Right.
remember. And it was like a complete shock. Like it was, imagine I come from France, civilized country, quote unquote, and I go to their emerging country, and it's completely different. There are no roads. There's nothing is. I was not prepared
Yeah.
for anything. I remember before going to France, before leaving to Laos, I went to the Institut Pasteur in Paris because I wanted to learn about all the vaccinations I had to do.
Right.
And they gave us a lot of vaccination, and they gave us like that huge list of all the medication we should take, for the dengue fever, for this and for that.
Yeah.
We spent, if I remember well, we spent like 2,000 euros on all medication that we did not use once.
No. Jeez.
Because they had no idea how
Right.
it works over there.
Right.
I remember they were telling us, don't drink water.
Don't drink the water.
From the tap.
Yeah.
That they were right. But don't put ice into
Right.
the water. Do not go next to the water, next to the river, in the evening. Don't drink like fruit juices, etc. The first day we were doing all of that that we were not supposed to do. The first day we sat on the Mekong River, there was this wooden bar, some sort of a hole in one or something like that.
Right.
Something, but it was nice.
Yeah.
It was like sunset on the Mekong River. We were enjoying I think it was a lemon juice with a little bit of sugar and ice cubes in it.
Right.
I wasn't sick at all. And from that day on, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I just enjoyed it. It was amazing. Laos is a fantastic country. People are so amazing. They smile all the time. It's just, we just had so much fun.
Right.
So much fun. And we arrived at the same time with a lot of other young people the same age than us. We were like 23 at that time. And so, because there's not a lot to do in Laos, it's a small country,
Right.
Landlocked. We made friends immediately.
Yeah.
And we were moving. It was open houses all the time at everyone's, and we didn't need a lot to live. We had because Laos was so cheap by then, but we had a house, we had a maid, we were going out every night, and maybe we were spending like 800 euros a month.
Right.
for
Wow.
all of that.
For everything.
It was just amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I loved about Southeast Asia. It's like a surprise every day.
Right.
And it's so different from what you have in the US, when you in Europe. It's very chaotic, very chaotic.
Yeah.
You never know what the day is going to be.
Right. Yeah.
But at the same time, that's why I was hooked, because of that, and because also I was given responsibilities professionally.
Right.
Very quickly, responsibilities that I would never have if I had stayed.
If you'd stayed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I it's yeah, it was just amazing.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
after 20 years, just to close on that chapter,
yeah.
after 20 years, everything that I liked, I came to hate.
Oh, really?
It was too much. It
Oh,
was the chaos. I was tired of the chaos.
okay.
I was tired of, for example, there is something that in Southeast Asia, it's part of the culture that they do a lot, is they never say no because they don't want to lose face.
Okay.
So instead of saying no, I don't know, they're gonna say yes, yes. And then later on, they will tell you, oh, by the way, what is it that I'm supposed to be doing?
Right.
And so if you take like a transportation, public transportation, a taxi or a tuk-tuk, you go on a tuk-tuk, you say, I'm going there. Say, yeah, no problem. And it starts. The tuk-tuk driver will start. And then 200 meters, 300 meters after, you say, oh, I don't know where it is. Where are you going? And there are little things like that all the time.
Right.
But I was so tired of it. I had enough. I
Yeah.
was reaching a point where I was getting like racist in a country that, I was not born in. It was not
Yeah.
my country. So it was
Yeah.
like, oof, it's time to move
Right.
out. And I really needed like something completely different, 180 degrees,
Yeah.
and I needed people who were stopping at the traffic light when the light is red.
Right.
Go to Vietnam, try to cross the street in Vietnam. You see
Yeah.
what I'm talking about.
Right.
you know. And so that's why that's why I wanted to move back. I also missed like nature, like
Okay.
European type of nature.
Yeah.
I miss the snow, and my partner is Finnish,
Oh, okay.
and we met in Cambodia, and so we decided to move back to we moved to Finland.
Right. Wow, that's awesome. That's quite the story. And it's funny you talk about try and cross the light. I remember I went to New York City. Now I'm a, small town Canadian boy, and we
Yeah.
went to New York City, and I remember that it seemed like the cab drivers used their horns more than they did their brakes, and it was the same thing, right? Try and get across the street. It didn't matter what color the light was. It's just if you hear the horn, right, you're putting your life in jeopardy there. So
Yeah.
it's amazing though. Now, do you feel those experiences though help mold that entrepreneur? When was it? Throughout your journey, you got out of the army, you went to Southeast Asia based on
Yeah.
somebody else's,
Yes.
dreams, followings, whatever. Where was it you decided, what, I think that entrepreneur bug kind of bit? And was it sitting by the river when you weren't supposed to?
No, no.
Something
My-
bit you, but was it the entrepreneur bug? But where was it you decided, what? Yeah, I think this entrepreneur thing is for me.
Yeah, yeah. I have always been surrounded by entrepreneurs.
Okay.
Always. My best friends are entrepreneurs. My father was an entrepreneur. His
Okay.
father was an entrepreneur, but I didn't realize by then, the impact he had on me. And in my last job, when I was working at this advertising agency that was back in Cambodia,
Right.
I had some shares in the business. That was the first time I was kind of touching, the entrepreneurship
Right.
area. But I was a minority shareholder, and my business partner, the owner of the company, was like a serial entrepreneur. He had like four or five businesses.
Okay.
And I reached the age of 40. That was 7 years ago, nearly.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I can feel it in me. I'm like, if I don't do it now, I will never do it. So I have to try. And I was discussing with him, my business partner, and he understood what I was telling him.
Yeah.
And one of my best friends who lives in the house, who is an entrepreneur himself, he has always pushed me to become an entrepreneur, but I never felt ready until that age.
Right.
I don't know what it is, but what I've discovered about entrepreneurship is that it is a calling. You
Right.
have it or you don't have it in you, and sometimes it just takes time to blossom.
Sure. For sure.
It's just in my case, it took like 18 years.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, so I'm gonna try it, but before I do it, I want to be smart and I need to find out what is it that I really want to do.
Right.
What is my thing?
Yeah.
And then it took me like another year to process that.
Yeah.
Just having slept in my mind.
Yeah.
And then one day, and we are back in August 2017. I was with my parents on vacation, and I literally woke up in the morning, and I was like, yes, I know, I found it. And I decided I would become a coach/trainer.
Right.
Why? Because it just made sense. I had come to realize that what I enjoy the most I'd always been like um, training, mentoring, coaching, educating, advising my staff,
Right.
and my clients. I love the sparkles in the eyes of
Yeah.
people when they learn something new.
Yeah.
And I've been part of that journey. This is my best reward.
Right.
And so I was like, yeah, I'm going to be a coach. Just makes sense.
Yeah.
And entrepreneurship, because this is what I was very familiar with, because also in my experience, my professional experience, I'd always run businesses on behalf of others. So I sat in the seat of an entrepreneur. I know what it
Right.
means to run a business. I had failures. I had successes. I cried. I laughed, and all of that I knew very well. So I thought, all right, let's do it. Let's become an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
a coach for entrepreneurs, and also do some training, because it's also something that I really enjoy.
Right. And you saying that it took you a little bit to incubate, and that's one
Yeah.
thing I find with a lot of entrepreneurs too, is we don't realize, we enjoy doing something and it comes naturally, but we don't even think, okay, well, that could be a business, because it's just like you say, you enjoyed giving that advice. You enjoy, talking to people about it, and you get passionate about it because you see the passion in them. But we don't step back and think, I'm pretty damn good at this, right?
Yeah.
We don't give ourselves enough, we don't value, ourselves enough to look at, yeah, that's kind of a gift. That's something I could probably do more with. And like you say, you sat a year on that, and I can tell you, I'm an idea guy. I come up with business ideas, all the time, and I'll write them down, and I'm one of these guys who, kind of the name of the show, from concept to exit and everything in between, that's me. It's like, okay, boom, 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 boom. It's not what's step one. No. I can see it right through. And then it has to incubate for a while. So I will put it aside, and I'll come back to it. And I always found that if I was still passionate about it, whether it was a month down the road, 3 months, 2 years, whatever, then maybe it was an idea to go ahead with. So yeah, sometimes you gotta let it sit. You gotta let it fester. And if you come back to it and you can still say, you know what, yep, I got to do that, then that's half the battle, because that passion is attached to it. And if you've got that passion, you're gonna face those hard days, because it's like, I feel so good about this. I know there's some value to it. I know there's something to do with it. So you decided to start your own business. Now, did you start it in Cambodia, or did you start? Oh, you started in Cambodia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I started it in Cambodia in October 2017.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about your business. Now, did you start with what you're doing now, or did it kind of evolve over a few years?
It's interesting, because that Bottleneck ID,
Yeah.
I had it from the beginning. I started using it, and then I went away from it to come back to it like 2 years ago.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because I was not satisfied with it.
Right.
But yeah, I started immediately with what I do today.
Okay.
So I had a network of entrepreneurs. I reached out to them. This is how I got my first clients.
Right.
Also, I was doing a little bit of consulting on the side, especially in doing some research, market research for some clients, because my background is in market research. And now that I was not working for a company anymore, it was cheaper to hire me.
Right. Yeah.
So he helped pay for the bills. And then I moved to Finland in July 2019. And then, I brought the business with me, because most of what I do is online.
Right.
With Zoom. But then I underestimated the lack of network that my lack of network in Finland. I didn't know anybody in Europe, and especially in Finland. All my network was was in Asia.
Right.
I didn't realize that it would be a problem. And then COVID hit.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I kind of lost all my clients because they were telling me, look, we would like to continue with you, but we are like in deep trouble right now. So we have to cut all
Yep.
expenses.
Yep.
And in 2020, back in 2020, in February 2020, I was in a hole.
Right.
I had to remember to tell you, I had to go back to my parents to ask them for money. So
Okay.
when you are 40 something,
Yeah.
how old was I? 45?
Right.
Going back at 45 to your
Yeah.
parents and ask them money because you're struggling with your business,
Yeah.
it's a very humble experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And from that, did you have the self-doubt about, what, maybe what I'm trying to do here isn't really me? It's obviously, I underestimated the value of a network, especially in a different place. And I'm 45, asking mom and dad for money. Should I just maybe get a real job, so to speak? Did you have any of that self-doubt, or did you just say, you know what, it's just a stumbling block, I got to push through it?
I always have self-doubt.
Right.
Always. But this is what also keeps me moving forward. But at the same time, I don't like, I love a challenge. And when I am, facing a wall, once I have come through all that, self-doubt and all these bad feelings and this space, this space that you are in where you are in your head that is wrong, you're not feeling well. I always try to find the opportunity.
Okay.
And so that's my motto. My motto is that Albert Einstein's quote: "In the middle of adversity lies opportunity." So as soon as I find the opportunity, I move my energy onto it.
Right.
And so at that time, that's what I did. I was like, okay, is it what I want to do? Yes, it is what I want to do. This is always, I always try to remember why I'm doing it.
Right.
Okay, what I do. It's because I love it. There's no way, I was born for it. And so I need to continue.
Right.
And then it's okay, what is the opportunity right now? Because you can't be defeated like that. It's not going to happen.
Right.
Okay. So I found the opportunity. This is when I decided to completely revise my strategy. I started my podcast, and I started reaching out to people in Finland, etc. And I've always had the same approach all the time. This is my way of getting through a challenge. Being an entrepreneur, you always talk about resilience.
Right.
Grit. I like to talk about grit. That's what it is. But you have to remember why you do it.
Right.
And
yes.
If it makes sense, I mean, I've asked myself, do I really want to go back to be an employee? Sometimes I miss it.
Right.
Because sometimes, I used to run a company with 50 staff, etc. That was fun. I had a lot of fun. It was amazing to build a team.
Right.
With whom I still have contacts. That was really, really great. But that was not mine.
It was somebody else's dream.
It was, yes.
Right.
Yes. And today I do what I was born to do.
Right.
If I can't make it a success, it's my fault. So right. I have to try. I have to try until I reach the point where I feel like, yeah, okay.
Right.
That's good enough.
Yeah, no, and that's great. And I think this is a great segue into what you do, because, you talked about, and as entrepreneurs, we either have to be, our best champions, because there's nobody standing behind you pushing you, right? But most of the time, a lot of the time, we're our worst enemies, because like you said, it's up in here, right, where we need to get this right. And yes. If we can't get this right, and, I know that's a lot what you focus on, because you say that, the biggest risk to entrepreneurs is becoming the bottleneck in their business. And I know a lot of that plays in the mindset. So let's talk about, what does this mean? What are some of the common symptoms that, you see in entrepreneurs who are becoming the bottleneck in their business? and what can they possibly do about it? Let's talk
Sure.
about your business.
Okay, cool. So being the bottleneck, you can all imagine, visualize what a bottleneck is,
Right.
right? It's going like narrow,
Yeah.
and then it blocks the flow. And that's what happens with yourself. We are all, like you said, we are our worst enemies. And when we are our worst enemies, this is when we become the bottleneck. All right. To give you an example of what's going on in our mind, this is when we are asking all these questions in our mind, returning into circles. Okay. Very
Yeah.
stupid questions. Oh, why am I like that? Why I can't succeed? Blah, blah, blah. And we turn into circles like this and we never move forward. The way to move forward is to stop asking questions like that,
Right.
and just move forward.
Right.
Just to decide, okay, enough, and let's go now.
Right.
But we don't do that somehow because we're stuck in our head. And that's when we become the bottleneck. We are the bottleneck of ourselves. Entrepreneurs, it's the same. It applies to entrepreneurs, it applies to everybody, but entrepreneurs, especially at the beginning of the journey, but also it also apply even as the business grows. As the entrepreneur, you are the engine. There's no difference between you and your business. You are your business.
Right.
So if you are stuck in your head, because you're the engine, what happens? Well, the vehicle, your company, is stuck too.
Right.
You can move forward if you have staff, etc., but it won't move as fast and it won't move as far as you want it to move because you're stuck into your head. You are the bottleneck.
Right.
And so that's why it is, for me, the biggest risk. That is, and every time I mention, when was the last time you were the bottleneck? Every entrepreneur knows intuitively what I'm talking about. And everybody will say, oh yeah, I'm always the bottleneck. Okay.
Right.
And then the symptoms are very different. I've identified, I think, 20 different symptoms, but I'm pretty sure there are a lot more than that.
Right.
But I can give you the three most common.
Sure. Yeah.
The first one is when you are lost into details. Because as an entrepreneur, at the beginning of the journey, most of the time you are by yourself or with a very limited team. Right? So
yes.
What do? You do everything.
Yes.
Yeah. And so your head is stuck into everything, every little details. Fine, I understand that. But as the company grows, the problem is you continue doing that. The company grows, but you have developed this habit of looking at every small detail.
Yes. Micromanaging.
Micromanaging,
right,
for instance. Yes. And then you keep on doing it. But the thing is, as the business grows, what you need to realize is that you need to be less and less detached from operations so that you can focus more and more on strategic thinking.
Right.
Where am I going? Why am I going there? How are we going to get there? What is the process? Do I have the right people? Do I have the right resources to get where I want to go?
Right.
But when you are lost into details, you can't do that. Hence, you're the bottleneck.
Right.
Because the thing is, you do not allow others to move forward because they're waiting on you.
Right. Yes. Yes, it can be hard as an entrepreneur. Like you said, we start doing everything. We spend all this time working in our business, and it can be hard to transition to that working on our business. And we keep micromanaging it, and so we remain being the bottleneck. Absolutely.
Yes. And that ties into the symptom number 2, which is the inability to let go.
Right.
It's so difficult to let go, isn't it?
Absolutely.
We're afraid.
Let's face it. Businesses, become. I'm a parent. I don't know if you are or not, Laurent, but there are babies.
I know.
Right. We raise these up from concept, just like we raised our children up from when we talked to our spouse or whoever it was about, maybe we should start a family, like whatever. This is one of our babies, and it doesn't matter how big it gets. It doesn't matter how many people you got working for you. You're on vacation. Guess what? That child is still in the back of your mind. You're wondering, how the hell is it doing today, sort of thing. So sorry, continue on there.
But it's interesting that you say. You're talking about kids, because I have 2 kids. One of them is 17 right now.
Right.
It's a teenager, and I need to let go.
Right.
About some about
yes.
his life.
Yes,
because it's somebody who
absolutely.
makes decisions by himself. And I have
Absolutely.
so much difficulty
Yeah.
in doing it.
Yeah.
That's a great analogy to being an entrepreneur. It's
Yeah.
exactly the same. For instance, you hire people, right? As your company grows, you hire more leaders, right? More
Right.
managers,
Right.
right? Okay, everybody understands that. But what is the point of hiring them if you do not give them the authority to make decisions by themselves?
Right.
And that happens so many times. You hire people, you hire leaders, but then you end up making all the decisions
Right.
because you don't want to let go.
And I
Let
think that
go.
and I think that might be one of the differences there, because you said between, hiring a manager and that. And I think a lot of the times we don't trust that we've hired leaders, because leaders we trust to lead. Managers we trust to look after the things we tell them need to be looked after. So a lot of times I think, we're not looking for the right type of person, because a lot of times, finding a leader is tougher than finding a manager. And I'm not putting managers down. There's great managers out there, but there is a difference. There is a difference between having a leader come into your company and kind of having the trust in them, or
Yeah.
having a manager that, yeah, you need to check in on. So,
Yeah. But you know why? I think it's because, and I used to have the same problem, just make the same mistake. It's because when we recruit someone, we focus on the technical skills.
right.
Right. If you look at most of the job announcements today, it's 80% of them, it's all on technical skills.
Right.
But ask anyone the question, what would the qualities of the ideal candidate be? 80% of the answers will be soft skills. They
Right.
will talk to you. The answers will be like, oh, we want someone who is able to, work in a team. We want someone who is friendly. We
People
want someone
skills.
we want someone who can work independently, make
Yeah.
decisions, and do that. Also ask the question to yourself or to your team, what is the best boss you ever had? 100% of the answers will be people skills.
Absolutely.
And the thing is that is not reflected on job announcement, and therefore it is not reflected in the recruitment process. It's very important that you, like you said, you spend time to think about who you want to hire, but not from a technical point of view, from a people's point of view,
Right.
from a behavior, from an attitude, because those are very difficult to teach. Technical skills you can always teach.
Absolutely. And I think it's, and I might screw this up, but it's I think it was Russell Branson that said that people don't quit jobs, they quit managers.
Managers,
right?
yes.
Because like you said, we're not focusing on those people skills. A lot of companies look at, and this is where I say, I'd rather be street smart than book smart any day. And a lot of them, you look at, job applications where they're looking for that college graduate. They're looking for the person who has the technical skills, the book smarts, the knowledge, but that doesn't mean they're good with people.
No.
Right? So, yeah, absolutely. We need to kind of turn our focus a little different.
Yeah, and I can add, also we make the mistake when we promote someone internally, we make the mistake of promoting that person based on technical skills.
How good they were at their job.
Yes. Give you a classic example. The head of sales. It is going to be the person who makes the highest sales, biggest revenue, the best salesperson.
Yes.
But the best salesperson might not be the best leader.
Right.
He or she is the best salesperson.
Yes.
Right. It's because, again, we're looking at technical skills. We're looking at how well they are in doing their job.
Right.
But when you hire a manager, when you hire a leader, you have to look at completely different set of skills that is completely different.
Yes. Yes. No, that's great. So what's number 3? I think we touched on 2 there. Number 3.
No, number 3 is what I call the lack of clarity of direction.
Okay.
As the company grows, you often hear people, hesitating. Where should I go? Straight, left, or right? Okay. That is often because they are misaligned with what we call in French the raison d'être, the reason to be of their company, the reason why the company was created in the first place.
Right.
Simon Sinek talks about why. A lot of entrepreneurs I have interviewed on my show, they talk about purpose or impact. that's what I'm talking about here. The clarity of direction comes from your purpose, from the impact you want to make. When you created the company, you all have a story. Like I have my story. My story is I woke up in the morning at my parents and I knew what I wanted to do because it just made sense. That is my story. Every time I am not, I doubt, I go back to that story. I go back to why I became an entrepreneur coach.
Right.
You know, do that. Do that all the time. Go back to that why. This is your DNA. This is, we all have a story. We all remember when the company was created. We all have, every entrepreneurs I talk to, they will tell you exactly when it happened. They will tell you how it happened. They will tell you, they remember who they were with. They will tell you what they were talking about. They will tell you what they did on that particular day. That is when you created the DNA of your company. So as the company grows, because we hire staff and because there are so many opportunities everywhere,
Right.
it is quite easy to get misaligned with it. And this is where, your direction is not clear. And you become the bottleneck again.
Right.
Because it falls on you, the entrepreneur, to set the direction and then to explain to everyone, this is the direction and this is why it is the direction. I need you to get there. And you're going to help me doing it. And this is your job.
Right.
But when you don't do that, your staff are lost. They don't know why they wake up in the morning and work for you.
Right.
And we all have heard stories about companies, bankrupting because of that.
Yeah.
So lack of clarity of direction, third bottleneck.
Right. So, and it's funny how you were talking about your why, because this is something I'm going to talk about in my golden nugget. So it's funny how we kind of align there. But I think people don't put enough value into the strength of the why, and it's something I'm going to touch on because if you can go back to it, and I mentioned this later too, but I can talk about it a little bit right now. When things get tough, if you can go back to that why and say, why the hell did I start this anyhow? Like, why? Because we can lose track of it, right? Because it might be 5 years down the road, and I'm going to get into that, but there's so much power in knowing why did I do this that can just help realign you back on your path, because when we start a business, as much as we think we know, we don't know what we don't know. And there's going to be shit come up that is like, oh yeah, you know what? I never thought about that. Maybe I should go down that path. Well, we're not prepared for that path. We didn't plan on that path. And then we get halfway down that path and it's like, oh shit, I either got to turn around and I just wasted all this time doing what I thought we should do. Or maybe I should have stopped before and clarified why I was doing what I was doing in the first place. And I might have been able to choose that path differently. So,
client, this is what happened with my first client. My first client was, we did that work. There was a couple, they had an advertising agency
right
in Cambodia. And we did this work together about, what do they do, who they are, where are they, etc. At the end of the coaching session, that's what they told me. They told me that we went back to our roots.
Right.
We had lost clarity of direction.
Right.
And some years after, they sold the business.
Yeah.
Maybe it was linked, maybe not. I like to believe it was linked.
Right. Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, you got to know. So now, what do you work with on your clients when you figure out these issues? What are some of the steps that you have your people taking to help them get that clarity back and stop being that bottleneck?
Yeah. So the first thing I do with my clients is I understand where they are now and what are they struggling with. And so before we enter in a coaching relationship, which is going to last usually around 6 months.
Right.
I established with them what I call key success indicators. Okay. 3 of them, because three is a good number. You could call them like objectives for them,
Yep.
because coaching is about the results. It's not about, I don't sell coaching, I sell results.
Right.
But the results is start with the coaching sessions, but then it is achieved by them. Okay? Because in between sessions, they have to do the work.
Right. Absolutely.
I always joke with them. I said, I don't do anything. I just ask questions. You do all the work.
Yeah.
And you pay me for that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But having those key success indicators help them do the work, and paying me also help them make them be accountable for themselves.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because they know what they have to achieve. They know
Right.
where they're going. So that's the first really important work is imagine the you now. Sorry, you have a you now.
Yeah.
Like you as you are today. I want you to think about the you in 6 months. You at a personal level, but also at a business level. What would you like to have achieved by then?
Right.
And so that's the first step. And then every session, at the end of every session, they will leave with homework.
Right.
Homework towards those key success indicators. But sometimes also because life happens and the business environment changes all the time, it may well be that during a coaching session they tell me, well, I have a problem. Can we talk about that now?
Yeah.
So most of the time when I enter a coaching session, I am not too sure what we're going to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
I know what they want to achieve, but like I said, I don't see everything. I don't do the work. I'll talk to them like on a regular basis, but I'm not them. So
Right.
it might very well be that we talk about something completely different because they really have that problem.
Right.
And then so usually we work. We meet each other on every other week for a duration of 6 months.
Right.
And my job is really about asking questions and listening. That's what a good coach does. A good coach asks the right questions at the right moment, listen to the answers, but like I'm really talking about listening, actively
active listening. Yes.
Not listening and doing something else at the same time. This is the most difficult aspect of being a coach, I think.
Absolutely.
Active listening stage. For 1 hour, you have to give your full attention to what the people are telling you,
right,
are talking about. And then because I'm also a business coach, entrepreneur coach / business coach.
Yeah.
And I have this experience with me. I sometimes also give advice. I'm not just a coach, just only ask questions. I also give advice, and we debate about those advice. And it's often happens that my clients ask, what do I think about the situation? Yeah. So it may well be that I tell them, I don't know, what do you think? Or it may well be that depending on how I feel about it at the moment, where they ask me the question, may well be that, I give them my opinion.
Right.
So that's pretty much how it works. So first, 3 key success indicators, then we meet on a regular basis every other week until we achieve at the end of 6 months. The goal is to have achieved those key success indicators.
Right.
At the end of every session, they leave home. They have their homework. During the session, I could use some exercises, some tools. It really depends on how they feel how they feel on the day.
Right.
Now. It really depends on I know you just said something. Hold on, I know I got the perfect tool for you right now. Let's do it.
Yep. And that's an important part of not only being a coach but being a business is you're meeting in 2 weeks and you kind of have an idea what you're going to talk about, but there's something else going on, just like you alluded to. So you need to be able to pivot, right? You need to be able to, you can't be so, and that's a problem I think a lot of entrepreneurs get into as well, is they've laid out this path and they put the blinders on and no, I have to stick with this path. This is the plan. You have to be able to pivot. You got to be able to adapt to the situations because you don't know what's going to happen. Nobody could have told us that, we're going to go through 2 years of a shit show called COVID, right? Where the bottom dropped out of your business because of the networking aspect. And so if you're not adaptable, if you're not able to pivot, you're probably going to be dead in the water in 5 years. And that's, I think, a lot of what entrepreneurs run into. And And like
And
you said,
that's the reason why I don't like to put I don't have a program.
right,
Where you enter, you go through the boxes, you go
right,
through the process, and at the end of the program, I've made so many promises that you will never achieve.
right. Yeah,
Anyway, it's
yeah,
what I do is only one on one,
right.
and that's every situation is different. I mean,
Absolutely.
the symptoms are more or less the same,
Yeah,
but I believe, because like I said, entrepreneurship is a calling. Every entrepreneur is different. There is no
right,
difference between you and your company.
right.
We all have our own personalities. So you give the same problem to two different entrepreneurs, the way they will treat it
Yes,
will be completely different.
yes,
So that's why I only do like one-on-one sessions
right,
over the long term.
right.
So I forgot to mention also the between session. I am sorry, I am reachable on WhatsApp. So
Okay, yeah,
I'm always, you can always talk to me on WhatsApp. I try to send them some news, some articles, some videos related to what we are discussing, or to the goals they want to achieve, because they need. I have to be here for them all the time during our coaching relationship.
right. Yeah,
Also, I want to make sure they do their homework. Which is
absolutely.
very important.
Yeah, and I think that's a excuse me. I think that's an important excuse me. I'm just gonna grab a drink. But I think that's an important thing for people to realize is just because you're going to a coach and they have knowledge that they're going to share, but everybody says knowledge is power, and I kind of disagree with that. I say utilized knowledge is power. So you can know everything you want to know, but if you don't do anything with it, well, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So the fact that you sit there and say, yes, I'm going to tell you something, but you got to do the work, right?
Yes.
So don't think you're going to go to the coach and get all the answers, because you're not. You're going to get some clarity. You're going to get some guidance. You're going to get a different perspective, but you still got to put in the work, because at the end of the day, if you're not invested, then you might as well go get that day job. Go, because there's nobody coming behind you. The coach can't make you succeed. The coach is a tool for you to use to maybe get you back on that path. So I think it's very important when you say, yeah, you know what, you're getting some damn homework, and you have to do it. It's like being back in school, right?
And if I can add on top of that, I would say, if you go to a coach, do not expect short-term results.
Right.
It's a long-term process.
Right.
Some of those coaching sessions will be more impactful than others.
Yes.
But a lot of the results that you will get will come once the coaching agreement, the coaching relationship is over.
Right.
Especially if you continue, because you have been put on the right tracks.
Yes.
Right? And
Yes.
if you continue on those tracks, you will see the results.
Right.
I see, like, recently I saw a client of mine. We worked 2 years ago. We worked together, and we've still been in contact after 2 years. And recently he told me, like, you know what, the discussion we had last time about, that I should start my business, from scratch again. That's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
It just took me 2 years, but now I got funded.
Right.
Started people completely. We're starting from scratch again, but with new people, new intentions. I just got funded.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. And it's great how you said, don't expect to, there's no, A, in business, there's no get rich quick scheme. And B, sometimes the results aren't overnight. It's no different than you started your business, bootstrapping it with a couple bucks in your pocket. You didn't expect overnight success. So why would you expect, things to change overnight? So yeah, you go in, with some expectations, but the expectation has to be, this is going to take a little bit of time. So no, I think the approach you take with your clients is awesome. So now let me ask you, now you've been doing this for a little bit, right? Knowing what you know now, is there anything you would have done differently?
So, is this interesting? Because I ask exactly the same question in my podcast.
Right.
Yeah, there is definitely one thing that I can think of on top of my head, which I already mentioned in the conversation, is when I moved to Finland.
Right.
I was sleeping on my laurels a little bit because I was lazy. I think I was a bit lazy.
Yeah, yeah. And we get that way. We all get complacent when things are going well, right? We tend to rest on those laurels. Absolutely. So you're not
And
alone in
being
that one.
complacent is
Yeah.
one of the bottleneck symptoms that
Right.
I've identified.
Right.
But that exactly what happened. I was complacent, and I should have spent a lot more time preparing my arrival in Finland, getting some contacts, building my network here. Because
Right.
even though my work is done online, I need a base,
Yes.
and my base today is in Finland. And so what I've spent when COVID hit, I spent my time building that base, making some connections, which today are paying off. I'm getting involved more in the startup community, for instance,
Right.
so that I can find also clients in Finland. I can get my name out there,
Yeah.
which helps me then reaching outside
Right.
to the world. So yeah, don't underestimate the importance of building a solid base wherever you live, even though your business can be like done remotely.
Right. Yeah.
Very, very important.
Yeah.
So that's definitely one thing that I would have done differently.
Right.
Also, I think what I would have done differently is I reach a point where I need to be more structure in so that I can get more qualified leads faster, so that my business becomes sustainable.
Yeah.
I should have started that a bit earlier.
Right.
But it's always the same, you're like, okay, should I invest the money now?
Yeah.
Or not? Oh, business is doing good. Okay, so yeah,
Yeah.
maybe I should have done it a little bit earlier.
Right.
This is something that I'm going to definitely do this year.
Yeah.
Having someone, because that's also a mistake a lot of solopreneurs do, is they don't hire, they don't use others, they don't outsource services to others.
Right.
Do it, but
Right.
you can't succeed by yourself.
Yeah.
So get out and hire people outside of your business to help you build the foundations, to help you delegate all the stuff that you don't want to do. Delegate that to others. Invest the money. It's really worth it. And that is something I should have done. Yeah,
Right. Right. And it's funny, I just watched a webinar yesterday, or a chat yesterday, and I'm blanking on the gentleman's name. I know it's Damon. He's from Shark Tank, the starter of Fubu. But I'm drawing a blank on his last name, so I apologize for that. But he kind of said the same thing here. He said, when he started the company, right, he started selling hats on a street corner. And, he sold $800 in hats or whatever. And so, but as he started to evolve, and his target market, I think he said, during the hip hop age was, 18 to 32-year-old males. But then he realized, well, wait a minute, they got girlfriends who are kind of into the same thing in this, but I know absolutely nothing about the female market. Nothing. So he had to bring in other people who could help him develop that market. He had the product, but he didn't have the knowledge. He didn't have those connections. He didn't have that network, so to speak. And he said he did that with every aspect of his company, whether it was bringing in, different color shirt lines. He said he started with 10 different colored shirts. He found out that, 80% of them that we sell are black. 15% are white, and maybe the other 5% are one other color. So there's so much different learning that has to go on when you're building this business. And like you said, lean on other people. Don't be afraid to involve other people who are experts in what they do. Because building a business is not a one-man, one-woman show. It's definitely, especially when you start growing, right? Lean on others. And I think that comes down to knowing your strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and as a solopreneur, you can build an ecosystem around you.
Right.
I don't want to build a company. I don't want to become an entrepreneur.
Right.
And build something that grows behind me, because I'm happy with that.
Right. Yes.
But I can't do it by myself. So I need to build an ecosystem around me to help me build what it is that I want to achieve.
Right. Right. Okay. So I'm going to ask you this. What do you enjoy most about being an entrepreneur, and what do you struggle with? What do you enjoy the least, I guess, for lack of a better term?
What I enjoy the most is the freedom, is what a lot of entrepreneurs would talk about, is that ability that, I can do whatever I want.
Right.
I can make the decisions I want. I don't have to report to anybody. I can also, being an entrepreneur has given me an opportunity to find my voice and to say stuff, to be a bit bold
Okay.
and say what I really truly believe in, entrepreneurship, the work that I do. And I was able to say that through, not only my coaching sessions, but also social media, for
Right.
instance. Okay, so it has taken me out of my comfort zone,
Yes.
and that is really what I love. And also the fact that it always comes with challenges. It's always challenges, which forces me to really think all the time. That I really love. The
Right.
problem is what I don't, it's not, I don't dislike it. It's just, it annoys me. I think too much. It's another way of becoming the bottleneck, is that I think too much. I get distracted by all these ideas that I have.
Right.
And instead of, going into one direction and digging into it and finding out if it's going to work or not, I tend to go into there and then, oh, hold on, I got a better idea, and poof, move into that other idea.
Right.
And so I don't finish what I have started.
Right. Okay.
So that is what is very annoying.
Right. Now, we always talk about, a lot of times about, yes, it's, a great life, and it is, it's the time freedom. And like you say, a lot of time entrepreneurs do not make good employees, right? We can be bullheaded, we can be stubborn, we can, because we have all those kind of leadership qualities that sometimes we get a manager and we just butt heads with, but regardless, so we always talk about, it's worth it in the long run. But how would you say, becoming an entrepreneur has affected your family life, both, positively, but negatively as well?
I mean, I think positively, because I'm in charge of my time, I can make more time for my personal life.
Right.
Right. I can say, okay, now let's go and have some, I don't know, let's take some vacation here and there.
Yeah.
Okay. It's easier to do.
Right.
I don't know if my fiance will agree with me. Maybe
Right.
with me, but this is how I feel, like being able to control my time better.
Control your time.
So, yeah,
right.
so I can spend more time with the personal stuff.
Right.
That. But on the other hand, I know I work a lot too.
Yes.
The problem is I never stop working. Working doesn't mean like doing stuff. It means thinking.
Right.
So that's the negative aspect, is that the thinking never, ever stops.
Right.
And because I work from home, it's even more difficult.
Right.
So maybe this is something I would do differently. You see, that maybe it's time that I move out of home.
Right. Yeah.
To a co-working space or something like that, or have a hybrid type of situation where 2 or 3 times a week I go to a co-working space, and I stay home when I need to record my podcast, for instance.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing. I never stop thinking.
Right.
And so sometimes I'm lost into my thoughts while participating in a family activity.
Right.
I am lost into my thoughts because I'm thinking about my business.
Yeah.
And then when the business is not doing well, it makes me stressed.
Yeah.
It makes me nervous. It gives me anxiety, and that impacts my relationship with my family.
Absolutely. Yeah, it can definitely be, working from home, and both myself and my wife are entrepreneurial. We both have our own businesses. Our offices are pretty much beside each other. There's a door between us, but it's too easy to say, you know what, I'm just going to send out one more email. Yeah. I'm just going to, you know what, I just want to check this. We find ourselves doing it, constantly, but we did put something in place where, we have a hard cutoff, and, we stick to it. We don't miss it, and we join each other on the couch, and she'll have a glass of wine, and it's time to talk. And we may talk business, but we're communicating with each other. We're staying away from, oh, I'm just going to do one more thing, just one more thing, because it's way too easy. So I like your idea of maybe getting out a little bit and you know, having that that co-working space. So so before we start wrapping up here, what are three key elements you think are important for an entrepreneur to have?
As in general?
As in general, what you know, qualities, I guess we'll call them. What do you think are three qualities that are important for an entrepreneur to have?
I think the main one, as a start, it's have the right mindset.
Right.
Being an entrepreneur is not for everyone. Not everyone can become an entrepreneur. You may have an idea, a great idea, but doesn't mean that, you know, you're the right person to develop that idea as an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Entrepreneurship starts in your head first and foremost. Right? If your mindset is not in the right place, you will not be successful.
Right.
And we go back to being the bottleneck. You know, it doesn't matter. The technical skills are really important. Don't get me wrong. They're very important. You know, you need technical skills like sales, time management, financial management, all of that you need. Okay. But the brain, you know, the mindset, the grit, resilience, all that stuff, you know, the ability to, when you fall, the ability to stand back up and go at it again, because you will fall.
Right.
It is 100% guaranteed.
Absolutely.
You will fall. Sometimes you fall hard.
Yes.
Very, very hard.
Yes.
But you have to find it in you to go back at it.
Right.
And so you must have the right mindset. If you don't have it, don't try. It's okay. It's okay. Nobody can be. This is not for everybody. It's fine.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
So I would say this is the first quality that you need.
Right.
I would think the second quality, which is ties to the first one, and is something that is completely underrated by most entrepreneurs, is that you need to be really good at taking care of yourself.
Right.
I'm talking here wellness in general. I'm not talking only about in terms of, you know, having a physical activity, exercising, but also talking about, you know, eating correctly, sleeping correctly.
Right.
I recently interviewed like a sleeping coach on my shows. Very, very interesting.
Yeah.
But so many entrepreneurs eat so badly. They don't sleep enough. They are, you know, they don't eat. They don't take the time to eat.
Right.
They don't exercise. But how can you be performant if you don't take the time to take care of yourself? Look,
right.
I often compare being an entrepreneur to being a professional athlete.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same in terms of mindset.
Yeah.
It is. But in terms also of physical ability, it is. I mean, the best professional athletes are very good because physically and mentally they're strong.
Right.
The best entrepreneurs are very good because physically and mentally they're strong. They're strong too.
Right.
And they understand the value of taking care of themselves. They understand the value of, you know, recovering, taking a break.
Yes.
You can't work all the time. You have to take breaks.
Right.
But it's so counterintuitive, you know? We think if I stop working, that opportunity that, you know, I was on is going to be.
I'm not accomplishing anything. Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not accomplishing anything.
My wife and I both come up from a fitness industry background, and we have a saying, right? You better take time for your health, or your health is going to make you take time for it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is so underrated by most entrepreneurs, I know. And then they end up, you know, burning out, or they end up like having health issues. Take care of yourself so that you can take care of others. You can take care of your business. You can take care of your people. You can take care of your family.
Right.
So important.
Yeah.
And the last quality, and I think I will go back to a technical skill here.
Okay.
One of the most underrated technical skill is financial management.
Right.
Don't start the journey for the money.
Right.
Because you will fail. But never forget that the money is the blood of your company.
Right.
Right? It's a very important means to an end. And your job is to make sure that you always have enough cash.
Right.
So that you can, you know, grow the business, but you can also pay your salary, you can pay yourself, etc. So you must learn financial management. I'm not saying you must be an accountant, which is completely different.
Right. Yeah.
You must learn financial management. You must be able to read an income statement. You must be able to make a budget.
Right.
At least make a yearly budget and
Yeah.
revise it on a regular basis, and make sure that you have a cash flow forecast file.
Right.
So I think that would be like the three basic financial tools you need.
Yeah.
Income statement, budget, cash flow forecast file.
Right. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, if you can't balance your own paycheck, or sorry, your own checkbook, you better take a step back before you start your own business, because it is way too easy to lose track of, oh shit, I thought this was covered, or I thought this was paid for, or I didn't expect this expense, or whatever it is. So, no, I think that's that's great for sure. So, listen, I want to start to get wrapped up here, because I've kept you, I think, about an hour here. But any last words of advice to anybody who's thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, or getting a coach, or whatever? The floor is yours for the last words of wisdom.
If you're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, I would say, go back to what I was saying earlier on. It has to be a calling. It's like you have to feel it. It is inside you. You have it or you don't. Okay? If you feel you don't have it, don't go. Maybe it will come to you later on.
Right.
Okay. That is what I would say, number one. Number two, go back, think about the mindset. Entrepreneurship is about mindset. It starts in your head. Do you have the right attitude? Are you ready to fall and get back up? If you're afraid of failing, And number three, never forget that your biggest risk is to become the bottleneck in your business.
Right. That's great. Listen, you know what, Laurent? It's been great having you on the show. I want to thank you for taking the time out, for spending, an hour out of your afternoon with us. Legends, I want to thank you for allowing both of us into your world. I hope you got some inspiration from this. I hope you got some education from this. As always, you know what? I want to take this journey with you. I only want the best for you. I want you to become, the best version of yourself, and not be that bottleneck. And you know what? Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button so we can keep coming back. I have great guests on every week. But I want to wrap it up with a golden nugget here. And we kind of touched on it earlier, when you often hear me ask guests about, their why, right? Why did they want to be an entrepreneur? Why do they do what they do? And, you heard Laurent mention, his reasons. And the reason I ask this question is, through leadership training, and I think even Laurent touched on it, they teach you that one of the biggest, aspects you have for success is to come up with a strong why. If the why is powerful, then the how is easy, so to speak. And I use that term loosely, easy. But if the why isn't strong, if your goals aren't powerful, if your vision isn't clear, which we kind of talked on as well, then when times get tough, and they will, they'll get tough. There's going to be failures. If the why isn't strong, it's too easy for you to pack up and quit. That's just, unfortunate. But quit is a word that shouldn't be in any entrepreneur's vocabulary. It's okay to fail. It's okay to pivot, but it's never okay to quit. So, after today's episode, I've got some homework for you. Just like Laurent gives his clients, homework, I'm going to give the legend some homework. I really want you to think about your why. And I want you to write it down, and I want you to store it away somewhere safe. Then when times do get tough, I want you to read it back to yourself and ask yourself, is my why still strong enough to push me through the tough times? And if it's not, that's okay. But it's time for why 2.0. Because just like you need to be able to pivot in your business, your why will probably change as you get through your business, as maybe children come into the picture or whatever it is. So if that why just isn't strong enough to push you through the tough times, look at revamping it. Then put it away, carry on, and continue becoming that legend you and I know you're destined to be. That's a wrap for this week. Thank you all for joining. I appreciate you all. Thank you, Laurent, for being a guest. Truly some great words of wisdom there. And until next time, stay safe.